This story is brought to us from theguardian.com. So The Guardian brings us this story where you remember when the Colorado cop parked his car on the train tracks like an idiot, like train tracks, I'll just stop right here. And the lady got really hurt. Well, that Colorado officer who put a handcuffed woman in a parked police vehicle that was hit by a freight train was found guilty of reckless endangerment and assault, but was acquitted of a third charge of criminal attempt to commit manslaughter during a trial Friday. Now, what gets me, he was guilty of reckless endangerment and assault. Why wasn't he charged with attempted negligent homicide? Is there an attempted negligent homicide? I know there is negligent homicide. Yeah, I'll give you an example of negligent homicide, a true example. These two teenagers were charged with negligent homicide when they were driving a van and they had people in the back of the van. And the passenger and the driver got really tired, so they said, let's switch. But they didn't want to pull over to switch. So they're trying to switch by each holding the steering wheel, and it veered too far off and flipped, killing, I don't remember how many. It killed one or more of the passengers in the back. And they were both charged with negligent homicide because they were negligent and it resulted in a death. So that said, coming back to this, why wasn't this cop charged with attempting negligent homicide? I don't know. See, I didn't even think to look it up. That just came into my head. So if some of you go, why don't you look it up? Because I don't have the time right now. I got to do this story. Jordan Stanky. Oh, sorry. Let me be mature. Jordan Stanky was the first of two officers. Hey, Officer Stinky. God. Jordan Stanky was the first of two officers to go on trial over the 16 September 2022 crash that left Rios-Gonzales seriously injured. There was no jury in Stanky's trial, which started Monday. Instead, Judge Timothy Kearns listened to the evidence and issued the verdict. Kearns said, the judge, there's no reasonable doubt that placing a handcuffed person in the back of a patrol car parked on railroad tracks creates a substantial and unjustifiable risk of harm by the train. Thank you, Captain Obvious. Yeah, we needed a judge to tell us that. He needed a judge to tell him that. How did this guy survive so long? Like, it's almost like mom saying, don't touch the stove. I got a blister. Yeah, well, it's hot. But the evidence did not convince Judge Stearns that Stanky knowingly intended to harm Miss Rios-Gonzales, and he added that Stanky had shown shock and remorse. I could show shock and remorse. I'm sorry. I didn't know the car was on the tracks. You got acquitted. Yeah, I knew I could do it. You know what I'm saying? But Stanky testified that she did not know that the patrol car of another officer she was helping was parked on the tracks, even though they can be seen on her body camera footage along with two railroad crossing signs. Stanky said she was focused on the threat that could come from Rios-Gonzales and her pickup truck, not the ground. The only threat that night came from you cops. And that's the truth. Stanky said she put Rios-Gonzales in the other officer's vehicle because it was the nearest spot to temporarily hold her. She said she didn't know the train was coming until just before it hit. Well, you're putting her in the car, you look down, there's these big metal things. You didn't see those? You didn't see the big metal things? Because you put them in the back seat, right? Those big things on the ground, those are called tracks or rails. They're called rails, right? I don't know. This is terrible though. Stanky said she put, okay, I said that. The judge found that Stanky observed the tracks but failed to appreciate the risk. She observed the tracks. Oh, railroad tracks. How'd those get there? Mallory Ravel, Stanky's attorney, did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Now, Stanky was working for the Fort Lupton Police Department at the time of the crash and was charged with criminal attempt to commit manslaughter, a felony, and reckless endangerment and third-degree assault, both misdemeanors. She was convicted of the misdemeanors. She was acquitted on the felony. The other officer, Pablo Vasquez, who worked for the police department in nearby Platteville, is being prosecuted for misdemeanor counts of reckless endangerment and traffic offenses. He's not yet entered a plea. His lawyer, Reed Elkis, did not immediately respond to requests for comment. So the other cop, he's still waiting on the stuff there. Now he's going to go, I didn't put her in the car. It was my car, but I didn't do it. I just parked it on the tracks. Why? I'm stupid. Well, we knew that.